could just return, come back to center, both feet on the ground. Both feet on the ground, unfold, take some deep breaths, drop into the heart, come back into the room so we can just be fully present for this next wonderful hour with the amazing Davina MacKail, who has just returned from Peru, 2 years in Peru. And just before the whole COVID thing broke, I flew out with my third son, Eddie, to Sipapu for a retreat with Davina and Nizami at Sipapu in Peru, which Davina crowdfunded, and it was just the most amazing experience, being struck by lightning and all sorts of things. Anyway, I won't go into that, but we just got back in under the wire of COVID, and then it's obviously decimated so many people's lives and has caused huge numbers of issues, but I won't go into that route. But I just wanted to, before I present Davina, I just wanted to share one thing, a magical manifestation, which I've been dying to talk about. Longing to talk about, sorry, strike that, longing to talk about. Because at the beginning of last year, we were percolating the idea of creating an inner sanctum, an eco-community, and we gathered a whole group of people, and we found a farm that we were intent on buying, and it fell through at the last minute because of issues about access. And as a result, the whole group kind of fell apart, but a small group of women kept the flame alive. We just kept visioning and setting intentions. We met every week of like manifesting a piece of land, and just kept visioning it. Not like desperately seeking for it on Rightmove or anywhere, but just kept visioning it, and just saying, it's gonna land, it's gonna land, it's gonna land. And then through the Stand in the Park movement, a guy there said, what happened to that project? And I said, oh, we're still looking. He said, well, I know the guy who is the son of the Lord of the Manor at Stanton Estate, and let me ask them if they have any land. And so he came back and said, there's no land at Stanton, which is where the Nine Ladies Stone Circle is, magical land there. But there is some land at CRESSBROOK, which we've owned it for years, sort of through default, and we've never known what to do with it, and it's difficult for us to manage. And if you're interested, maybe you would like to acquire this land. And so finally, we got to see the land and walk the land, and essentially it's the whole of the western side of CRESSBROOK Dale, which is near Monsell Head in the Peak District, the most incredible piece of land. It's 70 acres, 50 acres of forest and 20 acres of pasture land. So this vision has landed, and we've agreed a deal to buy it. So it's going through a whole legal process. We're just getting all the legals out of the way to make sure there's no issues with anything. And so and it's just the most, I can't even begin to explain the magic of the deal, because I said to them, we're crowdfunding this, and maybe we can rent this land and then buy it from you in a year. He said, no worries, you can actually pay over 5 years. It doesn't matter to us. And I said, we were not going to need that long, maybe just 2 years. But it is just the most magical manifestation. And so I wanted to just present this video. The music is by Mog, who's one of would the Phoenix Rose ladies like to stand so you can reveal yourselves to the audience? So we have Davina, Angela, Janet, Mog, Layla, Anne is here as well. So, and myself. So at the heart of it, we have a mandala of wise women who were the ones who held the space for this. Mog is the most amazing musician who wrote this music, and so Angela mixed this video. And so I'm sure not all of you can probably see this, but it's only 2.5 minutes. I just wanted to play it for you so you get an idea. And if you're interested in being part of this, then please come and see one of us during the next break or at some point in the evening. So Sylvia, if you would care to play that, please.
Like earth, be still. Like water, be clear. Like fire, be love. Like air, be joy. Yeah, so very excited to see the unfolding of this manifestation. And so if anyone would like to be part of that in any shape or form, then please come and see me or one of the Phoenix Rose ladies at any point in the evening. And we will be putting this out, and that video will make it available, and a whole information pack. Okay, so, and just to say that the natural spring on that land, which is at Ravensdale, actually fed the whole of CRESSBROOK before they eventually got mains water in there. So it's really beautiful natural spring on that land, as well as bordering the CRESSBROOK itself. So it's got everything that's needed for sustainable, lots of wood, natural water, fertile earth, and I hate to say it, but I feel we're entering into a period where we are going to have to unplug from the corporate system and make sure we have our resources in place. Anyway, I won't go down that route too much. I'm conscious of time, just wanted to pay tribute to a beautiful friend of mine. And one of the biggest events I did was 12-12-12, which was a magical manifestation in itself, and Davina was the mentor. I co-produced that event. It was like insane, like 1,000 people in London, and how we did that, I just don't know. But you were the one who held the vision for that back in 2012, and we got to know one another, and so it's a real honour to have you as a friend, Davina. I'm emotional now. So thank you. I'm so pleased you're home. Yeah.
So, can you actually hear me if I don't use a mic? Yeah. Good, because I'm useless with mics. If it's near my mouth, you might get to hear me. If it's not, we're in trouble. So, my dear ones, let's just take a moment, as that's the theme of today. So you can choose to keep your eyes open, or you can choose to close them. But I just want you to become aware inside your bodies. How's your stomach right now? How's your shoulders? How's your mind? And just noticing. Have you noticed the inside of your skin lately? Just actually what is going on in your physical body in this realm. And just pausing. And just noticing, is your breath high up in the chest or down deep in the belly? Thank you. What's the temperature of your skin? Can you feel your feet? Are you actually aware of all the different parts? What your heart's doing? And the title of my interesting talk, Rachel did make all these up, by the way, and just present them to you. I'm just going to say, so John wasn't alone in that one. So apparently, this is Wisdom of the Forest. Following John, I'm really glad she said it's Wisdom of the Forest, so I don't have to be wise. That's a good one, tick. We can do that. And restoring our sanity in these crazy times. And what we're doing right now, this pausing, is the greatest wisdom from the forest. To really bring these moments of pause throughout our day more and more. Because if we notice how life likes to speed us up, the information that comes at us these days from so many different sources is vast and it's fast. And if we engage with that, we have to we're in this world, this planet of duality. So if everything's fast, we need to do the opposite. And we need to really slow down. And talking to an Aries, that's really hard for me. And it is a very wise way to live, because in the noise, as John said, we need to find the stillness. I'm going to use a few of John's themes, but maybe expand them in a slightly different way from my experience of having lived in the Amazon in Peru for the last just over 2 years. But this pausing is something I really invite you to just take throughout your day. You can be doing the washing up, you can be in the car driving the kids to school, you can be doing whatever, but you can remember to just go, what's my belly doing? What are my shoulders doing? What's my body doing? And just take that breath and just opening the soles of the feet and just really coming back into that present awareness. And that alone is a practice that allows us to slow down, allows us to become more present, more still in the insanity of our crazy world. Because, you know, the powers that be want us to speed up. They want us to be in fear. They want us to, think about the change, the shift, the speed of the shift of narrative from COVID to war. I mean, hello, did we even have a break in that narrative? If I did, I missed it. I think I've missed that day at school. And it's just that speed of change that discombobulates us. It upsets us. We're like, oh my God, what am I meant to think now? Who am I thinking? What am I listening to? Where is it? And it's just like, no. Because in this post-truth age, There's only one person you can listen to, and it's you. What do you think? What's your resonance of truth? Who are you? When you come back to that centre. But if your head's out there, then you don't know what that inner truth is. So this was meant to be like a kind of conversation. And conversation is not just me speaking to you. It, requires a two-way street. So I'm going to share a little bit of backstory of where I've been and what I've been up to, and then maybe, obviously I can carry on talking, believe me. I haven't seen this much humanity for a very long time. It's very exciting. It's like, oh, I'm drinking you all in, it's yummy. So thank you, delicious humans, for all showing up. It's really, really yummy. And it's a very nice way to come back into being. But it would be great if you have questions or there's anything you want to ask me about what I've experienced, then please feel free to butt in. So 2017, an opportunity arose during one of, Rachel did our Natural Wisdom Leaders course at Nizami. My co-conspirator and I ran a program, shamanic program training. And it was during that this, and I was like looking after or holding space for 20 people going through some very profound experiences in our retreat centre, and somebody said, oh yeah, but there's this land in the Amazon. And I'm like, for goodness sake, I've got enough to deal with right here. I do not need to take on anything else in this moment. Cut a long story short, we get to the end of that week, and I hear the two of them, Nizami and this woman, and they were like chatting on the phone. And I thought, oh, I recognise that voice. That voice is really familiar. And it was actually one of my very first shamanic teachers from 25, 27 years ago. And I'm like, okay, maybe this land in the Amazon has got something I need to pay attention to. And anyway, through our wonderful fellow fundraisers, we did manage, some of which on whom are here today, we raised the money to acquire this land. And it is in the Peruvian Amazon. It's on a buffer zone of natural conservation. It's in an area of the most biodiversity in the world. I don't think I've seen the same insect twice any day for over 2 years. That kind of biodiversity. Most of them I don't want to really see, to be honest. And they're big, and they're creepy crawly. And I've always been a mountain shaman. I love, as John said, that's where the peace is. That's where the stillness is. That's where the expanded consciousness is, up in the Apus of the Andes of Peru. It's marvelous. And now Spirit was going, no, come down and get really deep, dark and dirty with the earth, right? Where life's here, all over you, all of the time. And it was really interesting listening to John, because he's like, yeah, well, peace is everywhere. And I'm like, have you been to the jungle lately? There's no peace in the jungle. It never shuts up. 24 hours a day, it is playing its tune, it's playing its song. And so where do you find the stillness in there? And yet you do. And perhaps it's more profound, that stillness there, because if you get agitated by the heat, the humidity, the darling mosquitoes, and all of the other creepy crawlies. I mean, I've had things like living in, bugs that grow inside you and then come up for air now and again, and a few of them, delightful little beings. And besides all the animals, the birds and the bees and the flies, I mean, there is every kind of flying thing known to man, and then a few more. And if you are agitated in yourself, then believe me, they love you more. And they want to get up close and personal even more. So you have to find that inner peace and that stillness, because in that stillness, they leave you alone, and it's great. So you learn it. You learn it. It's a great teacher in that way. And the greatest thing in the Amazon, I mean, there are many, I mean, it's a great teacher on so many levels. And it was insane. I'm just going to hands up admit that. I don't know how I'm going to save you from insanity in a crazy world, because I'm pretty insane to be a middle-aged English woman and decide I can live in the Amazon perfectly okay. So I'm probably not the expert on sanity in this room. However, I have survived and I'm still here. And you learn many things, and one is to pause, to slow down, because otherwise it all just gets too intense too fast. The second most important lesson I learned is you cannot do it alone. It is impossible. It's very interesting, isn't it? All of us, I mean, I don't know, but many of us here and many people, one of the big things that came out that I heard from the COVID pandemic is how lonely everybody got. Because, I mean, I even met a friend the other day, she said, oh, it was so terrifying, I didn't leave my house for a year. I'm like, wow. I mean, that's just beyond my kind of comprehension, but I had a very different experience because Rachel came to that first retreat and literally the pandemic doors closed very firmly behind her. And we found ourselves, I think there was 7 or 8 motley crew. Well, Masami wasn't motley, but the rest were quite interesting, the background. I was very grateful for his presence during that time. And basically, we were in the jungle for 4 months without emerging at all. We sent but because at that time, it was like Westerners or white people had brought this disease to our shore, so it wasn't really safe to go into town. And where we were, probably more people died, sadly, of poverty than COVID, because the military police closed all the roads, they stopped. I mean, we're 3.5 hours upriver from the nearest town. And we were lucky to be on the river because the police patrols didn't work during COVID, so we were reasonably free to get in and out to get supplies and food. But people that lived in remote villages, they literally closed the roads down. So, if you don't know how to survive and eat and be able to live in the jungle, that was pretty extreme. And anyway, so we had a real motley crew, and to begin with, we're much more advanced now. We have a natural water borehole and solar panels and things like that. But at the beginning, we didn't even have fresh water. So every bit of water we drank, and you're drinking a lot in the Amazon because you obviously get pretty dehydrated, you're bringing up in 20 litre, 25-litre plastic bidons. And every single thing that you bring on the boat up the river then has to go up a very steep bank and walked that. So you do it like a chain reaction. You just couldn't manage on your own. 47 hectares of rainforest we have that we were custodians of. And just the maintenance of keeping the paths clear, keeping everything working, and anything that goes wrong normally needs at least 3 or 4 people to fix. Because someone's got to hold something up that end and someone's got to be down on the other end, and there's got to be at least 2 people communicating in the middle. And you're thrown together. I mean, bearing in mind, I couldn't even speak the language. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, hello, let's go. And this is brings me back to another lesson, because I had a very clear, by the way, before you understand why I just decided to do this, I went there for a retreat. And I had a very, very clear message from Spirit. This is your home. You need to come and live here. And I was like, no, you got that wrong. That can't be the message. That can't be it. No, different day, different time. No, that's still that message. Anyway, it took me a year before I decided that I would go along with that agenda. And it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because 2 odd years later, unfortunately, we weren't able to bridge the pandemic kind of thing, and we had to sell our land finally, because there was no visitors, there was nobody, it was completely shut down, we were just there on our own. And so you think, okay, is that a failure? Was that the wrong message from Spirit? Did Spirit tell me something that wasn't true? Did I get that wrong? But it's like, as the philosopher Alan Watts would say, is it good? Is it bad? Maybe. And that's the thing, isn't it? Because when we can really allow ourselves to follow the flow, to follow the messages from Spirit, it's our ego that comes in and goes, yeah, but that means I have to make a success. And what's success? How am I terming success? How am I terming how this is meant to be? What is its outcome? What is its plan? And it's never what we think, because that's the mystery. And it's like, how can we trust ourselves to follow the flow and go with the currents of life, but not be attached to what we deem to be the right answer or the right way out of that? So, yeah, it wasn't what my mind considered might have been the outcome. And it may take me more than this lifetime to understand if I ever understand the final meaning of that. But I don't consider it wrong. I don't consider it was a mistake or a failure. It was just a part of the journey. And I think that's something for us to navigate through these current times, where we really hear that small, quiet voice within, that we take those pauses, and it's like, okay, there's all these voices telling me to do this, that, and the other, but what does mine say? Where am I going to navigate through that stream and that current of life? And talking of water, just to give you a little idea of how crazy where we live is, we have the river is our life's blood, and we're obviously praying and honouring the waters today. And the river is a very wide river. It's in the Madre de Dios region, the Tambopata River. And our river changes height volume, like as high as these columns in this room. Right, height volume on a wide river that's probably at least the width of this room. Sometimes within a few hours, and it's not even raining. Because the water has come from where it's raining further upstream. So you've got your little boat, which is, you lose the boat, you're basically you don't lose the boat, basically. And I can remember very early on, in fact before you got Rachel, you even arrived, we were peacefully sleeping in a bunk bed, and I could see, Nizami and I both got woken up by lights and torches and like, what on earth's going on? And our boat driver was literally up to his chest in thick Amazonian mud at 3 o'clock in the morning rescuing the boat because the water had come up. So the boat has to be checked like every couple of hours to make sure it's still tied to the right place. So you're dealing with, we had our stairs washed away so many times that in the end we just didn't build them back. It has to be said. It was just like, okay. And they're like thick planks of wood like this with deep posts sunk in, but the mud and nature has its own way. And that's the other thing you learn. You learn how utterly insignificant you are in the face of nature. You're lying in basically a garden shed, really, right? And there's 60, 90-foot trees all around you, and there's a storm raging. And Rachel did witness one of these. And these storms, because there's no real wind, so the storm doesn't go anywhere. It sits over you for like hours. It's just like, okay, God, was I really that bad? Come on, give me a break here. And, at any moment, one of those enormous trees, because they're pretty shallow rooted because they don't actually dig deep into these primary trees. And they could just fall and crush you to death at any minute. So you learn a different type of fear. So we have the fear at the moment of, as I say, the fear porn, really, that is just spurted out by various media outlets. And then there's real fear. The fear in the moment of a genuine threat to life, in effect. And this brings on to another conversation I want to have about life and death. Why not? We all do it. And it's very interesting. It's a different kind of fear, and it is much more that animal fear. That fear like an animal gets chased, and then the chase, it either gets eaten or it manages to escape. And if it escapes, it goes, oh my God, managed to survive another day, I'll be all right, it's okay. And it kind of runs off and does it, and it's dealt with it. And it's the same kind of fear. You live through a storm like that, you are so grateful for the morning and the stillness and the light and the lack of thunder and lightning and torrential rain. But it's over, it's done with. Whereas the fear that we are fed through the media is like a constant trickle, isn't it? So my other big top tip, which I hope everyone in this room would already be aware of, is turn it off. Unplug it. Eradicate it. don't look at it. It's like the old saying, if the tree falls in the forest, but nobody was there to see it, did it really fall? Right here in this room, as we all sit here now enjoying this day, are there bombs being dropped or not? It's an interesting philosophical thought. If all of us, literally think about it, if we all turned it off, unplugged it, stopped watching it, what would happen? What would we be discussing? What would we be talking about? Because every conversation that we have amongst each other, where we oh, isn't it awful? It's awful. And I'm not saying there are not awful things, but we feed it. We are constantly feeding it through our attention. So really we need to put our attention where we want it to go, and to shift our focus and really move to where that is, because these awful structures weren't built in 5 minutes, and if we really want to change it, then we need to put our focus on what we're building within it, whilst it's happening right now, right here. And it has to be to do with the people that get on with each other. Like, I would look at the people that are closest to you, and you just think, yeah, I love that person. They might be a pain in the neck sometimes, but aren't we all? We all get on and don't, and all the rest of it. And actually, what do you want to build? What kind of lifestyle do you want? Are you going to sit there just worrying about what might happen but never does? Or could happen? And that's another thing the forest teaches, because life and death is so in your face all the time. Right? When you first walk in the Amazon, it's just a great big mess, really, of life and death. I mean, literally, you see the dead tree with the mushrooms living out of it. Everything is just this amazing juxtaposition of life and death. You can't avoid it. And for me, we in the West particularly have become very divorced from this whole concept of death. And it's like, oh, we have to keep everyone safe. Grandma's going to live 5 minutes longer if I don't give her a hug. Wow, great. Did Grandma want to live that 5 minutes longer, or would she prefer to have had the hug? Interesting question. It's like my mother didn't hug her grandchild for 2 years, God bless her. I just thought, wow. What does one's soul, I personally would rather have had the hugs and maybe lived a little less longer on this planet. But that's my opinion. But we've gone safety crazy because we don't face death. We don't look at death. We don't witness it. We don't get up close and personal with it. So it becomes this alien concept that's something separate from us. But as John said, we are immortal. We're eternal beings. The bit we lose is just this blood and flesh. But the thing is, what we're really scared of is the way we die, if we're honest. Most of us don't really, we're kind of okay with death, pretty much. It's kind of part of life, isn't it? And it's the one thing we can all guarantee, which is always useful. There's no get-out clause. Can't get a free one-way ticket to immortality on that level. But it's the way. So if we can get over and face that way of passing and really deeply go into the practice of understanding that's okay, we can take ourselves out of the fear. Because again, the fear of the war, it's about death. All of these things that are presented speaks to that very primal fear. But if we actually explore it and really go into it, it's the method, not the actual reality. And I really invite you to, in your pauses that you're all now going to take more often in the days and weeks to come, that you just feel into that. Feel into what is it in the human species that can't let go of that, and a lot of it is through our education and our programming, because it's like we it's life at all cost, isn't it? I mean, everything was about save lives, save lives. Well, one of the, and yet they're culling us on another level. So interesting. Hello, whose lives are we actually saving here, and how are we saving these lives? So we're on this journey, and it is a journey, and it is a great mystery. And the other thing that really comes from the water, and I was going to do this a little bit more when I do the water blessing, but we changed the schedule slightly, so I'm going to talk about it here, is there is a right, a wrong that I think needs righting on the planet. And it's about really, and it's to do with the water, because we are born in water. We grow in water, and then when the waters break is when we are birthed on this planet. And I feel, and I'm not a mother personally, or I haven't given birth in this lifetime, but I really want to put the mother back at the heart of all things, and really honour the mothers and the women that have wombs, whether you've actually given birth to children or not, because you carry the essence of that ability. Because think about it, it's whenever we denigrated the mother, whenever we made the mother less than, oh, she's only a stay-at-home mum, oh, she's just a housewife. I mean, what horrific things to say, right? None of us existed, or would exist, or be sitting in this room without a mother. Not a single being on this planet. The mother is the most important being ever. And you can see that because we have inverted that relationship of the womb and the mother, we have managed to invert our relationship with Mother Earth, the ultimate mother, the one that sustains all of us and gives all of us life. That's why we are able to extract and rape her, and exploit her, and poison her, because we don't honour the mother. We don't honour all of the human mothers, the animal mothers, and the ultimate mother. So I would like us to really start honouring the mother in all ways that we can, not just on a single day, once a year, when we feel obliged to buy flowers and say something nice to the one that gave us life, but every day. To really, if you know mothers, and if you know mothers that feel bad because they're stuck at home, or they haven't got the resources, what can you do to really honour them, to support them, to make them feel part of life? Because you see the mother in the forest all of the time. The forest is always mothering people. It's always mothering. And the other thing, the big lesson that the forest teaches, is how to be in service to the greatest whole. And there's no real answer to that question, but it's a question to contemplate. How are you in service to the greater whole? Because this is nature. Because obviously nature, species disappear. Species die out. Species get overridden, and you think, well, that's not, it's competitive nature. But actually, if you look from a higher perspective, from the condor's view, it's like, well, maybe that wasn't of service to the greatest whole, that species existed. Or maybe that disease had to go, timing's coming up. And that's what I invite you to end or just take with you, is pauses. And how are you of service to the greatest whole in the honouring of all mothers on this planet? And we're going to switch gears a little bit now, because we need to do something for our cacao. So can I just have a hands up? I mean, I know cacao's become the medicine of the UK since I've been away. Everyone I know is doing cacao ceremonies. So I'm just having a quick show of hands. Can you just let me know how many have or haven't done cacao in here, or haven't ever done cacao? Oh, ooh, goody. Right, no, because I need to tell you a few things, and I just wanted to gauge the level of the room, because if everybody had done it, then I won't say the same things. So just on a real practical thing, because we're going to serve cacao, and obviously normally we would all have our cacao together and we would all drink it together. But that's obviously not possible with this number of people in the way that we're set up here. So I'm going to do a blessing for the cacao, and we are going to put that cacao in with the main pot, but you're going to be able to drink it for yourself, and then we will connect afterwards for the music and the kirtan, etc. But if you take medication for high blood pressure, if you have any kind of heart condition, or you've drunk gallons of caffeine today, I mean, like more than, 3 cups of coffee or something like that, or you are pregnant, then I would advise you to have just a sip if you really want to participate, but to not take a full ceremonial dose of cacao. Okay? So high blood pressure, heart conditions, pregnancy, and an overdose of caffeine. You're out. For the rest of us, it is really?
Yeah, MAO inhibitors, there's certain ones that get...
Which ones?
I can't remember.
Because okay, yeah.
It's just worth being cautious.
No, thank you. I'm normally kind of okay with those, but it is a heart opener. It's a beautiful sacred medicine. I can't promise you Cadbury's hot chocolate. Sorry. We have been very, very kind, because I normally, like, Ravi's recipe is much more delicious than mine, I have to say. Mine's a bit more hardcore. So he has actually put some natural sweetener in there and some other goodies, so it is way more palatable than most cacao, and it's got some beautiful coconut milk, and so it's quite creamy and delicious. So thoroughly recommend it. You do need to drink lots of water. You can suffer a headache, especially later on, a few hours after drinking it. It can very, very occasionally upset your stomach, but that's normally if you need something to clear. I wouldn't gulp it down. They're 4 ounces and 6 ounces, aren't they? Like small and large.
3 ounces and 5 ounces.
Okay, 3 and 5. So on the 3 you'll be okay, but on the 5, I would sip it slowly. Don't just knock it back in one like a shot, okay? Because it just, your stomach might go, ooh, that's a bit much. So just be mindful of taking it in that way. It's a beautiful medicine. It's very heart-opening. It may release some of your internal waters in terms of your emotions and your tears, but we can all shed happy or sad tears together. We're all family. We can all give each other love hugs. And we're all here to support each other too. So if someone's having a bit of a hard time, just be with them, sit with them. And there's enough of us here that kind of are space holders if anyone needs any help. And enjoy. To sing with cacao in this sacred space with the waters is just a beautiful opportunity. And we've been deprived for some time now of these beautiful opportunities. So let's really open our voices, open our hearts, and really, really enjoy this. So I'm going to just end by coming down here. You won't be able to hear me quite as well because I won't have the mic, but I'm just going to do a blessing for the cacao.
What? If you can, switch. I'm not a pipe smoker by default. It's black Mapacho jungle tobacco, but it's a protective spirit, so it protects our cacao, it protects the space. It's a prayer. We always use Mapacho, like the Native Americans say, smoke from here to here is prayer, smoking there to there is death. Your choice. Pachamama Mama Kia with a butcher and tea tie Kuiji. Aku Wazangati. Aku Sultan Tai. Aku Sipaku. Grandmothers and grandfathers of all 7 directions. Humphrey, Humphrey, Humphrey. Gracias for your presence, Great Spirit. Gracias for blessing our cacao, for blessing each human heart present in this room. Whether they choose to drink your elixir or not, let our hearts join in one. Let our voices become song. Let our voices be heard, and let our frequencies of this love of cacao, this rich chocolate elixir, allow us to come together in common union. Gracias, dear sacred cacao. Thank you for opening our hearts. Thank you for blessing our lives. Thank you for allowing the currents of life to flow through us and allow us to feel all the feelings. We need to feel it to heal it. Only through the heart. When the heart is wide open to all, when there is no resistance in the heart, that is when we will find peace. That is when things will change. So open hearts. God bless you, cacao. God bless you, every being in this room. May this sacred, beautiful elixir be served. Amen. Enjoy, lovely ones. See you back at 6 o'clock.